Awesome. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit, Michael. I want to bring Salim back on, and we're going to talk about some of the things. We're going to try to bridge a little bit the world of OpenEXO, a little bit the world of EXOs and NFTs and Bitcoin. Bitcoin today, last time I checked, it was over 68,000. I mean, this certainly has some attention being paid to it. So let's see if we can tease out a little bit what some of these things are all about. So let's start with something Salim said earlier. He said, it looks like a fad, right? I happen to not think it's a fad. I think it's a fundamental state change. And now, are things fad like within it? Perhaps. But, I don't think the whole move is a fad. Like I didn't think the internet was a fad. What do you think about that? And Salim, then you as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a fad, but it's one that's not going away, right? Like memes, like social media, they will evolve, and our relationship with them will as well. But as more of our lives become digital, things that build out our digital identities, enable us to express ourselves, are only going to become more valuable, not less valuable. Yeah, Salim?
No, first of all, Michael, great to see you again. Michael has been shepherding me through this world for the last, I want to take you guys through a quick 2-3 minute journey as to what I've been going through with Michael over the last few weeks. Can I share my screen?
I think so.
I'm going to try and share my screen. Let's see if this works.
Don't give away any sensitive crypto anythings.
No, that's fine. You can,
yeah.
You can see, right. Can you see my screen there?
It's
there
low. Yeah, there it is. There
okay.
we go.
So I asked Michael, how does one get into this NFT world? And he pointed me to this website, OpenSea, which is a marketplace for NFTs, and pointed me to this project called CyberKongz. These are what are called Genesis Kongs, and each of these is 87 to 95 Ethereum to buy. There's, as you can see up here, there's 32K worth of Ethereum traded today on these things. And I'm sitting there going, that's like $500,000 almost for a digital picture of an ape. And I asked him to explain that. And he said, these are like the status symbols of this new world. If you have an amazing painting, maybe a few dozen people will see it. But if you have one of these, millions of people could see it. And it's an important status symbol. More importantly, it turns out these CyberKongs yield bananas. And how many bananas do they yield, Michael?
Oh, you get 10 bananas a day.
So you get 10 bananas a day, kind of like a utility.
CyberKong. Yeah.
And they're trading at like $100 each?
They're trading at like $50 each, but they were trading at $120 each at one point.
So one of these apes is yielding like $150,000 to $200,000 worth of bananas a year.
But as a CyberKong, we say one banana equals one banana.
Well,
right.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine. So I said, okay, my wife will divorce me if I spend this much on an ape. Can I get into something slightly simpler? And he pointed me to this project, which were a set of digital bears, which trade at Ethereum and a half each. And these apparently will also start yielding some sort of honey as a utility. And then he showed me this one, which was the one he referenced earlier called Neo Tokyo, where essentially the character is essentially a set of code which has a bunch of characteristics like Cyber Street Trader, Mutant, etc. It's like a playing card almost, where you get this capability, and you work this out. And apparently, he convinced me to buy one that had a certain yield, which yields X amount of bytes. Was it, Michael?
Yeah, bytes.
And so this character yielded me 500 bytes. And these bytes are trading at $95 each. So I'm sitting there going, wait, the character that I bought for 10 ETH or something suddenly yielded $50,000 worth of yield. This is kind of really surreal and pretty out there. So there's a very bizarre kind of dynamic, but it's very powerful, especially as we consider the transformation we're trying to achieve with our own token. There's something incredibly powerful going on here that really can't be ignored. And so I think, Kent, you said it well. There are aspects of this that will look like a fad, etc. There's an important article written in Rolling Stone magazine describing what's called the Bored Ape Club. And if you have one of these, you can actually get into real world events and physical environments, and it's an access pass to something very unique. And so the Bored Apes Club is one of these that becomes very powerful, and people are trading those for hundreds of Ethereum each. And so this seems to be a movement. And Michael, you were telling me that I think Coinbase is opening up a whole bunch of NFT wallets. What was the statistic?
2.5 million people have signed up to be part of the Coinbase NFT marketplace that is coming to a website near you.
Right. And so there's a massive flood coming to this world, and the projects are evolving unbelievably fast. Michael, where do you think this goes over the short to medium term? Do you think there'll just be hundreds of projects and thousands of projects, or will we see a limited number that do well?
Yeah, just for more context there, I think about 400,000 wallets exist today on OpenSea. So the 2.5 million new signups is pretty hefty. Yeah, I see there being a massive explosion. You know, kids are going to be making NFTs. You're just going to see so many, but it's not going to be about the money. It's going to just be about the utility. It's going to be a popularity contest more than anything in that context. But you know, there will be financial NFTs, there will be community NFTs, and there will be NFTs just for fun.
Okay, so a couple of quick.
I just wanted to touch on. Don't go buying a CyberKong now, because they're not all yielding bananas, you guys. Only the Genesis collection is.
Thank you, Michael.
Don't get fooled.
I should say, nothing you're hearing today is investment advice. You know, we are not giving you investment advice.
Not
We're
at all.
telling you about a trend. We're telling you about a technology. What you do with your money is your problem. But the reality is that you have to pay attention to what's changing here societally. So why don't I shift us into a slightly different track? So here's the question, and we can answer this a bunch of different ways, I think. But what are the business uses for NFTs outside of games and art? So Liam, you've touched on some. Michael, you've probably heard of tons of projects. For example, I think it was A16Z recently invested in Bright Moments DAO. Bright Moments DAO, that ticket, right, that NFT in that case, I believe it is, gets you access to kind of an exclusive club, and then those things can trade as well. I'm not so sure I like the idea that if somebody buys an exclusive membership, they can sell it to the next person, and then that person shows up at the next meeting. That's a little bit weird. But anyways, back to the question, you know, what are the business uses for NFTs outside games and art? What do we think?
Well, yeah, I'm really glad Salim touched upon all those other projects. So like CyberKongs is like you join this community and you're getting alpha on different projects. Alpha just means you're getting like the earliest tips and you're getting help on how to buy it. And even more, you might get other tips surrounding the space and just help with whatever you got going on just by asking a question. So you have a community of people you can kind of trust. And then like the bears is like kind of next level. It's not just about alpha with projects, but it was created by like a 20-year game developer vet, and he has all sorts of utility plan and gamification plan, and that's more than just sort of like these guys getting together and having fun and giving each other tips in the market, right? And then the Kaiju Kingz, which we talked about earlier, is like a little bit more serious. You got this, that is more of like the business use case. You know, you have this Web3 foundation. These guys are getting a legal structure. They're getting a whole mentorship program. This is serious stuff. It's much more than a yacht club, as you were referencing before, or a golf club. And then again, like I mentioned the Last Slice Collective before, and these guys are just like, you know, all of them have a skill set and they're all building and they're all trying to achieve a similar goal. So these people who are joining are not just joining to work, they're joining to learn from each other, to level each other up, to be connected with some of the best people in the industry. It's something that they would never be able to achieve without it. Now you feel part of a community in a very real way that levels you up. And that's, in my opinion, you know, a business use case, because these guys are working with businesses. So, you know, moving on from that, like, you know, I don't know, I don't think we mentioned like crowdfunding, but that's one of the major things that people are doing. It's kind of, the Bears is almost like a crowdfunding collective. He said, I'm a game dev. I have some games planned. These are my bears, and people are now giving him the money to go and build that thing. So people are going to maybe wait 1 or 2 years before this really comes to fruition, but it might be this thing where he puts it out in pieces like mini games and stuff, and keeps people interested throughout until the real vision comes to fruition. And it doesn't have to be written on a roadmap. Some of the best projects don't have a roadmap. Roadmaps pigeonhole you. When you leave it a little bit open to exploration and you let the community help you, you can build something much more interesting. So like, business use cases, imagine just like like government stuff, like being in a hospital. Imagine like pulling out your phone, pointing it at someone, and they have like an NFT badge, and you could see it above their head floating, and that you see their credentials, who they are. Like, so maybe, because people, that's probably, I think that's an issue where people will just go into hospitals and walk around, put on the right coat, and then you don't know who's in there. And this is a way to verify people. So just think like identification, certification, documentation. This is business use case. I'll stop. But Salim, what do you think?
Okay. Before I jump over to Salim, I just want to, I don't want to be a buzzkill, so I'm not going to dig into this, but regulatory aspects of what happens when you sell something and promise something for later. There are some regulatory aspects of that you have to consider sometimes, depending on where your jurisdiction is, where you live. I don't want to be a buzzkill and get into the whole regulatory aspects of that, but I do think it bears a little bit of mention, because we've talked about a whole array of projects here today. Some of them are clearly fine. Some of them, maybe they're in gray areas. And the message is, we don't know yet. The SEC doesn't know. Nobody knows how this is going to net out. So I think it's very interesting. But Salim, this particular question on, go ahead, Michael. You wanted?
I was going to say it may not be a fad, but it's certainly a big experiment.
It's definitely a big experiment. One of the things we extol in the EXO model as one of the 10 attributes, Michael, is experimentation. And basically, if you're not experimenting, you've died already. You're a zombie. You're just roaming the earth in a dead state. But Salim, you want to come back and talk a little bit about sort of we'll call them business use cases for NFTs outside games and art. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, my background is database design, which may sound really weird to you. So structured tables and hierarchical structures is something that's always I understand kind of deeply. I'm going to share my screen again and just show you that
explains your penchant for bullet points. Got it.
Exactly. So this is the Neo Tokyo collection, which, as I said, has these collection of cards which has these characteristics on them. And if you look down the left here, you can see all these different characteristics of these NFTs, like which class is it, a driver, a bartender, a builder, a grunt, a chat support, what kind of credit yield are you looking at? So I've ticked off mid. So these yield a middle amount of those bytes that I mentioned, the eye color, or the status of this particular, etc. So there's a set of characteristics you can attribute to these NFTs that becomes really interesting in terms of you can break it down and you can have collections and layers on top of it, right? Now, if you think about our community, we have ambassadors, we have consultants, we have people that have done the EXO Basics Foundation course, etc. Each of them have they have a set of badges that they earn. So this maps onto the NFT kind of overall architecture very, very well for a community. And so there's something very powerful here as we map onto the real world to give real world status and map them onto this NFT architecture. The non-fungible nature, what's happened in my broader opinion, is after this conversation with Peter last week and with Eric Poulier, there's this thing about exponential technologies, and we always wonder when is an exponential technology going to actually take off, okay? Because it goes for an arbitrarily long flat period of curve before it really takes off, and we've identified that the knee of the curve is typically around usability. When Steve Jobs made the iPhone usable and boom, it took off, right? Bitcoin blockchain has not been that usable until this NFT wave. And the NFT wave, with the ease of use of the wallets, with the ease of use of acquiring them, etc. Like, I'm adult in this world. And with the help of Michael, I was able to navigate it. And I can now kind of navigate this world. The NFTs now make blockchains usable in a really powerful new way, and therefore the adoption should take off, and it goes exponential from here. That plus the structure plus the other characteristics to be traceable, to be unique, as Angelo says, this becomes an incredibly powerful register for all sorts of things that are interesting in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. The Look, we've got Michael. I see you might have some rebuttal to that, so please jump in. Just as a little clue, we're starting to get live questions coming in from the audience, and I'm going to start to weave those in here in a moment. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, not just NFTs, definitely NFTs in a new exciting way. But, back in the last bull run of 2016, 2017, there was really like nothing to do. It's like go trade on an exchange. Now it's like, DeFi is a huge pillar of this. And NFTs just add to that. And the combination of the two are just pretty incredible. So now, add in stable coins, you just have so much to do this time around. The space is completely different than it was just a few years ago.
You just reminded me of Michael, and maybe it'll show the age a little bit, but I remember it was probably 1995, 93. I was Mosaic came out somewhere around then, but if you were going to get on the internet, about the most exciting thing you could do was Gopher. Right? Anybody remember Gopher? Right? Like I was, you're cruising around these they're just file servers, and you're looking at people's files, and there was some chat, which was like you could actually type faster sometimes than the characters would show up on the screen, that kind of thing. So we were in that state probably in that last bull run, right? We were out there doing that.
I think I was in grade 6 or 7, and I think I was using ICQ, not Gopher.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're in, and I said something similar in a conversation with Salim recently. I said, a lot of even what we're seeing right now could be Napsters, right? The really big thing hasn't happened yet. The groundwork is still being laid with some of these new interfaces and ideas. So I don't know what you guys think about that, about where we are in the continuum of evolution is what I'm asking.